A quiet crisis: how soaring vegetable prices are changing how America eats. A major shift is happening in the US, yet hardly anyone is talking about it. This August, wholesale prices for fresh and dried vegetables have surged by nearly 40% compared to last year. It's a combination of factors: retaliatory tariffs from Canada, supply chain disruptions, and skyrocketing fuel costs. All of these are pushing vegetable prices to unprecedented levels, leaving grocery shoppers wondering what's going on. The latest retail data shows that 7 common vegetables have hit their highest prices since the beginning of the year. Some of these increases might not be a surprise, but others are nearly doubling in price in just 30 days. And if you overlook the last item on this list, you'll miss the clearest clue about just how severe this vegetable price surge is. Tomatoes, the end of an era? For years, tomatoes were a default item in every grocery basket. You hardly gave it a second thought, just grab, toss in your cart, and move on. But that era seems to be slowly ending. Just last week, shoppers in Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania were all asking the same question: why is a box of Roma tomatoes that cost less than $2 a few weeks ago now nearly $4? The product itself hasn't changed, the packaging is the same. Only the price has jumped, and the increase is enough to disrupt habitual shopping. What's striking is how sudden this hike is. There were no warnings or notices about higher costs. The price just went up, and shoppers have to either adjust their meals or accept a higher grocery bill. The impact goes beyond a few extra dollars, it seeps into daily meal choices. For many older Americans, tomatoes add a gentle tang to salads and form the base of pasta sauces and stews. When a staple ingredient suddenly becomes something to weigh before buying, the sense of stability in everyday food starts to waver. This sets off a domino effect. People switch from fresh tomatoes to canned, only to realize that canned prices are also rising. Some turn to pre-made sauces, but the flavor isn't what it used to be. Food choices are no longer easy, they've become a series of compromises. Supermarkets are responding by reducing shelf quantities, running pseudo-promotions, or trying less common tomato varieties. Yet, none of these measures do much when average prices continue climbing week after week. Consumers, in turn, grow more cautious, picking a few individual tomatoes instead of buy. The latest retail data shows that 7 common vegetables have hit their highest prices since the beginning of the year. Some of these increases might not be a surprise, but others are nearly doubling in price in just 30 days. And if you overlook the last item on this list, you'll miss the clearest clue about just how severe this vegetable price surge is. Lettuce, a staple under strain. New USDA data shows that lettuce, one of the most widely consumed fresh vegetables in the US, has seen wholesale prices jump more than 30% in just the past 6 weeks. It's one of the first items to be hit by supply chain disruptions and newly imposed import taxes on produce from Mexico. What stands out is consumer reaction. Lettuce has long been considered resistant to price spikes because it's easy to grow, transport, and isn't a luxury item. Yet, in cities like New York, across Michigan, and throughout the Midwest, prices have soared past $5 per head, a level not seen since 2008. There are 3 root causes. Domestic supply drop. Over the past 3 months, production in California and Arizona, which account for over 90% of the U.S. lettuce supply, has fallen by more than 25% year over year. The reason isn't a lack of land or labor, but water shortages and extreme weather. Prolonged heat combined with higher irrigation costs has forced many small farms to abandon crops. Import taxes. Imports from Mexico used to fill the gaps during peak salad season. But now, with higher tariffs and longer customs delays, many shipments are being diverted to Canada, which recently offered new tax incentives for Latin American produce. Stealth pricing. Instead of raising the sticker price, many major supermarkets are reducing the weight and number of leaves in prepackaged bags. Bags that used to serve 3 portions now only cover 1 or 2. Shoppers often don't notice until they have to buy an extra bag just a few days later. For many older adults, leafy greens are essential. Dieters, diabetics, and people with high blood pressure rely on them to replace starches and red meat. When lettuce prices rise too quickly, the first victim isn't the wallet, it's long-established eating habits. Meals no longer start with a salad, and confidence in the food system is quietly eroding. Potatoes, a disappearing staple. Most people don't realize it, but in the past few weeks, bags of potatoes at major supermarkets have been getting lighter. Not because people are eating less, but because the bags are smaller, prices are higher, and quality has declined. Each factor alone might seem minor, but together they create a change that cannot be ignored. Currently, the average retail price of potatoes has jumped nearly 30%. Prepackaged bags, once a cheap and plentiful staple, have now become an item shoppers must think twice about. Even instant mashed potato packs have gone up by 50 to 70 cents depending on the region. The most noticeable impact isn't the price chart itself, but consumer behavior. Many households are reducing how often they serve potatoes at meals. Dishes like baked potatoes, homemade fries, or potato soups, once everyday comfort foods for older adults and working families, have suddenly become a luxury. This leads to nutritional instability, as not every family can simply replace potatoes with other vegetables that are also experiencing similar price spikes. From a distribution standpoint, the instability is spreading. Supermarkets report smaller inventories, not because potatoes are selling out, but because supplier orders are being reduced. Many shelves now only carry the expensive varieties or are half empty. So, what should shoppers do? It's time to change your approach. If you used to buy out of habit, now is the moment to shop by price per pound. Read labels carefully and don't just go for what's on sale. If you find a good price, consider buying extra and freezing some to hedge against future price swings. And most importantly, check your receipt every time you shop. Broccoli, from staple to luxury. There was a time when broccoli was a vegetable many kids tried to push aside on their plates. But in recent years, it has become a staple for many adults, especially those over 50 who pay attention to heart health, digestion, and blood sugar levels. Now, in a short period, broccoli has landed on the list of vegetables Americans have to think twice about before buying. At many supermarkets, the price per pound of broccoli has surpassed $3, a price that just a few months ago would have been considered too high. Moreover, many retailers have stopped selling whole heads, switching instead to pre-cut bags that weigh less but cost more per pound. This change not only surprises shoppers but also disrupts family habits. Previously, broccoli was a once-a-week purchase, easy to cook or add to a salad. Now, every trip to the supermarket comes with a sense of hesitation. Do I really need to buy this today, or should I substitute it? Localized shortages are also being reported at major chains in densely populated areas. Some days, only frozen versions are available. Some weeks, prices rise while quality drops, with broccoli heads wilting or turning yellow just 2 days after purchase. What's unusual isn't just the price increase, but its speed and unpredictability. Broccoli isn't a rare vegetable, yet it now behaves like a highly volatile commodity, similar to seafood. The solution right now isn't to wait for prices to drop, but to adapt. If the vegetable you usually buy no longer fits your budget, adjust how often you use it instead of eliminating it completely. Carrots, cracking the stable price. Carrots have long been a staple on American tables, known for their stable price and resilience. However, that stability is starting to crack. At major chains, the price for a 1-pound bag of carrots has now surpassed $1.39, a level that just 6 months ago would have seemed unusually high. Larger bags once favored by big families no longer come with proportionate discounts. Shopping behavior has shifted noticeably. Previously, carrots were just an easy add-on at the end of the grocery trip. Now, shoppers pause, comparing brands, and sometimes putting them back and skipping them entirely. This change doesn't just strain budgets, it disrupts habits. When even this familiar item rises in price so quickly, families have to rethink their entire meal planning. Many are switching from large bags to buying by the pound or opting for canned or frozen carrots, trading off freshness for cost. The impact extends beyond the home kitchen, as restaurants and cafes also have to reconsider the pricing of salads and side dishes. For those who cook regularly, it's time to adjust your habits. Instead of the usual 3-pound bag of onions, try buying individual bulbs or combine orders with neighbors to buy in bulk. This is no longer just about saving money, it's a necessity as onions, once a cheap and common staple, are seeing price increases. According to updates from Whole Foods and Walmart, the average price of 1 pound of yellow onions has risen nearly 40% compared to last year. This may not sound like much, but with the average U.S. household consuming 3 to 4 pounds per week, the extra cost could cover a full additional meal. Onions aren't a main dish, they're the base for many meals. Because of this, price hikes often go unnoticed until the total grocery bill hits a threshold. If you continue shopping out of habit, now is the time to adapt and stay alert. Onions aren't the most expensive item in the cart, but they are one of the bell peppers, the price of color. If there's one vegetable whose price increase is hard to ignore, it's bell peppers. In less than 2 months, the price of a red bell pepper in many U.S. supermarkets has risen from $1.19 to over $1.89. In some states, it has even exceeded $2. Notably, the increase is uneven among colors. Red and yellow peppers, which are less common, have risen the fastest. Green peppers are also starting to climb in price, disrupting many families' strategy of switching to the cheaper option. This change makes it difficult for consumers, especially middle-aged and retired groups, to plan meals. Previously, bell peppers were a supplement to add sweetness, color, and crunch. Now, just 2 peppers for a stir-fry can raise the total cost by nearly 20%. For those living on pensions or social assistance, this is not trivial. Shoppers are starting to pick peppers individually rather than buying in bulk, or switching to frozen pre-cut varieties at the expense of freshness. Some even remove bell peppers entirely from their shopping list. Supermarket chains are trying to mitigate the impact by selling bell peppers by weight or mixing them into salad bags. But the core issue remains: the overall cost has risen noticeably compared to last year. The ripple effect extends beyond the home kitchen, as restaurants and grills also adjust menus, using fewer peppers and substituting other vegetables for toppings. Conclusion. The content in this article was compiled from trade reports, public data, and official policy documents as of August 2025. This isn't political propaganda or targeting any individual or organization. The only goal here is to offer a different perspective so none of us get left behind.